Hey Jesus Freak, sorry about all the mess up with these videos, but I've been having problems getting my Mac to work with YouTube. I think that there's a problem in your video and a confusion that you have. I know there's been a lot of videos that have stated that you've made lots of logical errors or you've made some factual errors in your video. I actually think that you have, but I don't think they've been that many, and I think everyone's been a little hard on you. I actually think, though, that something that you might appreciate and you might be able to clarify where us atheists are coming from is to understand that you misunderstand us and you misunderstand the entire issue. You seem to be talking about what has atheism on one hand, and you seem to claim that all atheism is the same, that there's no different kinds of atheism, and that modern atheists are just like any other atheists, and so therefore you can lump all atheists together, which is odd because that's what you Christians are always accusing atheists of doing, which is lumping all you Christians together. Isn't that true? So the issue isn't a matter of Christianity versus atheism, it's scientific secular, humanist, modern atheism versus dogmatism of any kind. People like Dawkins, people like Dennett, and a lot of these other books that have been written by atheist authors, including people like myself, I am an atheist, we're against all dogma, and dogma is simply defined as anything that is considered to be true on faith or based on what feels truthful and what seems logical, but in reality is not based on either logic or, more importantly, facts. A scientist isn't just someone who thinks. He's someone who thinks and looks at data. In other words, he isn't just an empiricist who looks at things, and he isn't just someone who thinks. It's a marriage between thinking and observing. You observe and then you look, you get your assumptions from actual data, then you work from there logically. That's a very crude definition of science, but I think it clarifies something about what you've said. You talked about atheism, and then you took fascism and communism and you turned those into atheist ideologies and somehow lumped all us atheists with communists and fascists. Now, you need to understand how much of a propaganda trick that is. When someone says, oh, we've really got to stop these atheists, fascists, and communists, when someone says that in a sentence, they're really against atheists, not communists and fascists, and they're just throwing atheists and they're throwing fascists and communists in there in order to try to smear someone by comparing them. It would be as if I said something like, murderers, rapists, and Christians. We've got to stop all those murderous, rapists, Christians, and pedophiles. And if I were to name, 20 other things and just kind of throw Christians in there, So I don't think that was your intention, though. What I think you need to understand is that communism and fascism are religions. They are dogmas in the same way that, let's say, original Buddhism has no God. It is atheistic, but atheists are not for Buddhism because it is a dogma. It isn't based on facts. It's based on supposition. From what you can tell, you can say I'm a little bit of a fan of Buddhism, but that's because I think that some of what it says actually has been shown through some evidence, at least in my field of psychotherapy, to at least have some value, at least some of it. But Taoism, Confucianism, and a large number of other religions from the Far East are either non-theistic or atheistic. They are, however, ideologies. They are ideologies that have been used for violent purposes. Even Buddhism has been used for violent purposes, though not as much. But the point is that you miss the point of Dennett and Dawkins and us atheists until you realize that we're not just atheists. When we say atheism, we assume you understand that we're referring to modern, scientific, secular atheism, atheism that is the result of a scientific worldview. Because if you take a scientific worldview, an empirical, logical worldview, and you do not allow any faith or any assumptions to go in there, you inevitably come to an atheist or at least an agnostic viewpoint. That's why some people claim we need faith, is because you end up, they think of science as being a dead end. I don't look at it that way. I think that dead end is in fact a new beginning. So again, what we would say is that all the deaths from fascism and communism are on your end of the stick, along with all of the other deaths from the Crusades and from the Holocausts and from all the other things. So in effect, the Holocaust and the Holocaust that occurred in communist Russia to us are nothing more than the Christian Holocaust, the Christian Crusades, the Inquisitions happening again, but just another religion doing it. So to us, if you look at the agnostic and atheist societies and the societies that have had true modern atheism, enlightenment, secular, etc., like Sweden, Norway, and Finland, they have the most peaceful foreign policies. They have the most generous social welfare systems. They have the lowest crime rates. They have the lowest amount of racism, etc., etc., etc. In other words, they're almost model Christian countries, except for the fact that the vast majority of the people in those countries are not Christians. Don't you find that ironic that it's the first truly scientific atheist agnostic societies on the planet that have been able to bring about a society that is the most Christian-like? Don't you find that even remotely ironic? Now, I know you'll probably say, oh, that's not true, and you'll disagree with me, but please go and look up the facts. You'll find that the lowest crime rates, the most passive foreign policies, the lowest military, which is what I would think Christ would do, all of those things are happening in the Nordic countries and in other countries that are agnostic, atheist, or secular in their outlook. So again, you went like this with your hands, I remember saying, well, it looks like that you atheists are really high up there on the thing. It isn't atheism versus Christianity, it's dogmatism versus science is really what the issue is. And modern atheism is nothing more than a branch of the sciences. It's a branch of skepticism. If you see at the heart of science and at the heart of secularism is skepticism, which is the modern viewpoint of the vast majority of scientists. Skepticism, if you think about it, skepticism taken to its extreme leads to atheism. Because in skepticism, you don't believe in anything until you have evidence. And since it's hard to have evidence for something that requires faith, you simply disbelieve it. So this is Skeptic Sage. I'd like a response, by the way, because I like your videos. You're one of the few Christians that seems very charitable and not mean-spirited. So it'd be nice to hear a response. This is Skeptic Sage, reminding everyone watching that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And if I can get my peace sign up here with my newfound Mac knowledge, peace.